Got a little bit of work to do out here in the community garden this morning. Guten gardening, everybody. And I'm out here in our community garden space because I want to give you a little update on how things are performing so far, some of the decisions that we made in terms of what we're growing out here. Because initially, when I did the introductory video, opening video for the season, I said we were going to grow some sweet potatoes out here. That ended up not happening for a couple of reasons, but I want to show you how things are going. I want to show you how our black plastic is helping with the weeds, and I've got to take care of a few weeds around I got to take care of some weeds around the outside, the perimeter, and you can actually see some of them here. We'll see the difference between where I put the black plastic and then those edges where I can't really do that, but I can't leave these weeds out here. So today I brought along my weed eater, and I'm gonna go ahead and take care of these. Now, I've heard this called a weed eater, a weed whip, a weed whacker. What do you call it? I call it a weed eater. It is what it is. I guess maybe that's from where I grew up, but what do you call this thing whenever you're using it in your yard? All right, let's go ahead first and foremost to take a look at what all is growing here in our garden. Well, the first thing that should be evident to you is that this black plastic is 100% an effective way to keep down the weeds in the areas where it is covering. You can see our corn over here, and I'm going to get closer to each of these, but I just want to show you what I'm talking about, because you can see there are a couple of spots. Right here's a good example of it, right in the middle of a sheet here where a couple of weeds are coming through. And you can also see here by our squash there's a couple of spots where, because there's the hole there. Here, I'll just get right down in here and weed this out. There's the hole. You're going to see a few weeds poking through here and there, but realistically it's not all that bad. And so it's much easier for me to come in and take care of pulling a few weeds just like this than having to deal with these spread all around. And I do mean all around, because oftentimes when I would come out here, I mean, it would just be so bad. And I can't get out here nearly as often as I would like, that's for sure. And I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks here coming up soon. And so I have to be able to have this be as low maintenance as possible. Right now on a lot of these squash, and there are plenty of different varieties. If you want to see the varieties I planted, you can check out our earlier video where I did the planting. Right now I see a bunch of male flowers about to come up. So they're not quite to the point yet where they're producing female flowers. But you can see some of these squash are already starting to get a really nice spread on, 3 or 4 feet, and they're going to get a lot bigger than they are right now. Oh man, these plants, if I let them, if I didn't put down this plastic this year, let me tell you, these plants, they are something else. And this weed competition is not something that, well, really any plant enjoys. What's this? There's a cucumber beetle in there. I've noticed a whole bunch of cucumber beetles this year, so that's something else to take into consideration. So some of these plants, as I said, are definitely farther along than others. Some of the varieties are growing better than others. This one looks like it's been attacked pretty good. And I know for a fact I got a ton of cucumber beetles in here. So I'm dealing with that with some of these. And I'm not sure that this one's going to make it, but I do know I have enough plants out here that they should survive, they should thrive. Even if 1 or 2 of them fails. I've got over 30 squash plants out here. So I think right now, just coming through, taking out these few weeds, pretty soon these plants will be so big that they won't have any kind of problem, I think, with the weeds around them. All right, so I'm going to take care of that, but let me get you over to our corn. Now, this actually took me a while to put together with the plastic here and make sure that I had room for the corn. This was a good bit of work, but you can see, well, look in between, you can see the beginnings of all these weeds. But in the last couple of seasons coming out here, just the amount of weeds in between, it was hard to even discriminate between the weeds and the corn at first. But this is doing pretty well. I'd say that probably 85%, 90% of our corn has germinated. which compared to last year when we had maybe 50% max, and then I had to come back through and reseed everything because of all the dry weather. It's a whole different ball game this year, in my opinion. Now, one thing to note about this is we've been getting so much rain, and I'm not going to complain. I can't do that, especially when I'm hearing about all these places with no rain at all. But we've been getting so much rain that there's a lot of saturation in the soil, and the next concern for some of these things is if we get too much rain, what kind of damage might that cause? But I think we're going to be just fine. There might be a little bit of a sprinkle today, but beyond that, I think we're in pretty good shape for the next couple of days. Now, even with all this black plastic down, I'll get down here real quick. Even with all that, we'll still see some weeds come up, and I'll probably just bring my stirrup hoe through here and take care of what I'm seeing in here. Just so, again, our corn, once it's off to a really good start, that corn really doesn't struggle too much, I think. We've had, as I said in the past, so many weeds in here, and we've still gotten pretty good production. So this should make things a lot easier when it comes time to harvest. It certainly delineates the rows really, really well. So I can tell exactly where each row is. And that's pretty good shape, I think, so far. Now, is our corn as far along as a lot of the other folks around here? Well, no. I was behind getting it in the ground, especially with all the rain. Look at my neighbor here. He's got probably 1.5 foot tall corn grown in these little squares, and I've got other gardener neighbors here that are in great shape with their corn as well. So yeah, we're a little bit late in the season, but I'm not really worried about that. I think that's going to be just fine for us. Because again, a little bit later corn harvest will be okay. Now you see this area up front here, everything up here looks really small, really new. We've got some melons in here, some extra butternut squash right over here that I planted. And the reason all this is so late is this is where I was going to be planting sweet potatoes, but it's been so wet and would have been so difficult. Actually, you can see the holes here where when I first put this down, the ground was really muddy, and so I stepped in here and you can see the problems that's caused. It could have been pulling, so I had to come through and poke some holes in here as well. But I decided that rather than trying to fix all of this up for sweet potatoes this time around, I would come through and instead plant what we had, some more of our squash, and then a few melons that we had growing around here. So I wanted to go ahead and get some of that in here. We've never tried growing melon here, but once these things get started in here, get some sun out here a little bit, I think we'll be in good shape. All right, now I said we've got weeds out here. All along our fence line on both sides, we've got a tremendous number of weeds. These are popping up everywhere, and this is really common for for what we've seen the last couple of years. And I certainly could get in here and get real low and pull everything out, but I think for the speed of it all and for the amount the whole way around, I think the best thing for me to do is to probably just come in here and use the weed eater. So I'm gonna get that started. I'm gonna get this knocked out. Well, my glasses are covered in bits and pieces of weeds, and so are my pants now, but that looks so much better. I'm gonna have to come through and rake this up because I don't want to leave a mess out in the middle of everything here. That's not so nice. But let me show you what the exterior now of this garden plot looks like. All right, let's take a look. Yeah, everything is nice. You know, the bits and pieces, nothing was going to seed that I could see, so the bits and pieces that fell inside I'm not worried about at all. But yeah, this garden space, I'll say it again because I talk about this in each video, but for about 70 bucks for a whole growing season, there's a lot of produce that we can get out of here. You know, one of my goals was to make sure the corn got tall enough or big enough before all of our squash started moving in different directions. I'm going to take this big plant here and I'm going to try to turn it just a little bit see if the main vine can come this way instead of over into the corn. Once the corn gets really big, you know, having the squash go through it's not a problem. When it tries to grow up over it, that'd be an issue. But here's where we are, and as I said, I'm going to go away for a couple of weeks on vacation, and I imagine as long as we get at least some rain, by the time I get back, this is going to be so grown up, and even these little ones that are just getting started should be in really nice shape by then. Hopefully. Let me go ahead and turn this one. Not that that's going to do much, but I'll turn it for now. Get it faced in a slightly different direction. Well, folks, I hope your growing season is going well so far. We'd love to hear about it, of course, as always. If you're enjoying yourself, if you're growing a bunch of winter squash, you have corn growing, we want to know how you're doing, just like we're showing you how we're doing. So, hey, if you enjoyed today's video from our community garden, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.